Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. You can check me out on Twitter at Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley Facebook, LinkedIn Neil Haley Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest Neil Haley, and Google+, and also on Periscope at Total Tutor, and an education theme for an author's corner type show. So I'm excited to welcome the program the former senior policy advisor with the U.S. Department of Education, Karen Gross. Karen, thanks for calling, and how are you?
Hello, Neil. Nice to be with you.
It's nice to be with you as well, Karen. And like when you kind of look at and specifically think about your career in education, how did it start? Did you always want to be a teacher?
I did. I've wanted to be a teacher since I've been a little girl. And I've had a wonderful opportunity to see education from many perspectives. As a teacher, as a senior policy advisor at the Department of Education, as a college president. And
oh, wow, college president.
So
we'll have to talk about, yeah.
So that's been very useful because you get to see education from many, many perspectives.
You definitely do. And did your family, were any of your family teachers when you started as a teacher?
It's interesting you say that. There were 5 kids in the family, and we all became educators
Oh, wow.
of one sort or another. And my father was an educator.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So one might say that perhaps it's in the genes or something.
Oh, yeah. Then, see, my wife and I are both teachers. I own a tutoring consulting company, so I'm not in the classroom anymore doing lots of consulting, and she's a kindergarten teacher. So I wonder if our kids will do the same thing, and it's interesting to look at this. And I'm sure, Karen, in your career, you've seen so many cyclical movements in education from when you started till now that you're like shaking your head saying, hey, we've been there, done that, right?
I think one of the things that I've realized as I've thought about education over the decades is that I was aiming, and I think it's important, to focus on college access and success.
Yes.
But when you look at the equity gap, when you look at the achievement gap between low-income kids and higher-income kids,
exactly,
you see that the differentials start really early.
Oh, yeah.
So we should be paying attention to the earliest grades.
Right, the earliest grades. And that's the thing, that it's not fair comparing the affluent to the less fortunate. Because, Karen, there's never going to ever be that change in that the extra stuff that they have, that they're ahead of people already. So the best is to see education improve, that the low-income and rural districts that are not performing well, to make sure that we see that they're improving, that kids are reading more. When we have such a terrible reading graduation rate in our country, that's the big thing we need to be concerned about. Not about comparing them to the affluent. It's why aren't they learning to read? Why aren't they learning how to write? Why aren't they learning how to become successful and graduate? That's our problem in this whole gap. Would you agree?
I agree with you completely. And one of the reasons I wrote a children's book is because as important as it is to help college kids and kids in graduate school, if you want to make a difference in education, you have to start early, and you have to start off sort of like the joke about voting in Chicago.
Exactly, early and often.
That's why I wrote a children's book.
Oh, it's so true, and I want to get to that. That's why you have a long time. 26 minutes is. But for you, it'll be when I get to talk to another educator, I definitely want to pick their brain in specific ways. And what made you want to continue to move up the ladder in education? To, as you talked about, being with the U.S. Department of Education, to being a college president, and all these different types of things. What in the process, starting out, what kind of just kept you interested in moving up the ladder and helping more and more people?
I'd say that what has motivated me, and the reason that I've moved up, although some people would ask whether that's really moving up, is that I increasingly wanted to make change.
Yes.
Not change just at a single school or for a single student, as important as that is,
yes.
I wanted to see if I could make change across many students and even across our nation.
Exactly.
And so working in the Department of Education was one way to do that. Being a college president is another.
And see, and for sure. And like you, when you started young teacher going into the classroom saying you want to make this tremendous difference, you're saying, I'm only making a difference in my class. I want to make a monumental difference. And that goes back to all your career and then as an author now to touch as many people's lives as possible. And that's where you went into the U.S. Department of Education. Tell me that story of you being a teacher and moving up in the education world to becoming involved in the U.S. Department of Education. Tell me a little bit about how that happened.
Well, it's interesting because I had never served in government across my career. And the opportunity to serve in this administration came through a number of connections with the Undersecretary of Education, Dr. Martha Cantor, who's a remarkable woman and has done a remarkable job about thinking about vulnerable student success.
Right.
And she and I had chatted over the years before I went to the department about student success and how to help students to succeed.
Exactly.
And she said to me, you know something, you want to make a real change, you want to make a real difference, come to the department and share with us and talk with us about how to make education work for all of our students.
That's great. And to make it work for all of our students. And you said, wow, really? And so what was your role in education before being offered that? That you were already a president in the college? Was that the kind of the direct?
I was the president of the college before and after I was at the U.S. Department of Education.
Okay, so what were you president? What college were you president at? I'm sorry about interrupt.
I was the president of a small career-launching liberal arts college in Vermont called Southern Vermont College, which has almost 50% Pell-eligible students. So those are students with the lowest family income. And almost 70% first-generation students who were the first in their families to go to college. So I focused a lot on closing that achievement gap that we see, this graph where high-income kids do way better than low-income kids. And it's really the work I did there that led me to the U.S. Department of Education.
Because
and the kinds of changes we were able to make.
So you were able to see the kids that went to your college, the ones that were able to make it through the cracks, that might not have made it if it wasn't for certain things, and say, why can't we have more, right? Why can't we have more kids attending college and eliminate this gap, correct?
Absolutely. One of the things that we see is many what I would call promising practices, but what you need is something that's replicable and scalable if you want to make change across our nation. And so one of the things I was able to do at the department is share and work on ideas that have national impact, as opposed to just a single institution. And let me emphasize, institutions matter.
Exactly.
They really do. But you don't often get an opportunity to take the ideas from one institution and carry it up to think about it at the national level.
So true. And that's the point, is that you could see it in firsthand and say, why can't we duplicate this, right?
That's right. And duplication and scalability are not easy.
No, it's not.
And you have to think through the devil is sort of in the details in all of this. But the North Star for me hasn't changed over my entire professional career, which is to help vulnerable, what I would collectively call vulnerable population, succeed in America.
And what do you think that makes the student that comes from, that has a lot of baggage per se, a lot of difficulties? What do you think you're able to do to help them to see, well, how teachers can teach these kids. How can they see the best potential in them? What do you think it is? Because, as you said, you could do it on your end, but to make it a national thing is so much more difficult because you're a variety of different thought processes in education across the country and different funding in every place and different things, right?
So I wish it were as simple as saying that there is a single solution.
Right.
I think, unfortunately, there isn't. No. And what one needs is a multifaceted approach to this. But I can tell you two things that I think would make and do make, when they're implemented, a really big difference.
What?
The first is thinking about education as a pipeline that starts very early and continues to and through adulthood. So instead of thinking in silos, where each part of the educational process is off on its own, we have to think about working across, ventilating the silos, so that we have an opportunity for kids to transition more easily and better prepared across the entire educational pipeline. The second thing I would tell you that would make an enormous difference is in the early childhood area.
Absolutely. Because they don't get that at home. Yeah.
No, and in fact, and it's perhaps sad that we view as the most respected and the most highest paid those who teach the oldest people.
And it's not.
Kids in college and graduate school.
Yeah.
But to be candid, the real difference, the real opportunity to close the equity gap is what happens in those very, very early years. And hopefully, if we do it right, you don't just help those kids, you help their parents.
Right.
And then those parents can support those kids as they go through school. As your wife should know if she's teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Here's give you an example. Someone that was not doing well in one school, oh, let's move them to kindergarten. What? Are you kidding me? So they weren't performing well in 5th, 6th grade class? Oh, we'll move them to kindergarten because that'll be easy for them. No, the hardest job is teaching the youngest because they don't have a lot of the skills necessary to follow directions. They need constant on-task strategies and teaching methods to keep them engaged. The older kids are not as difficult as the youngest. I was more exhausted teaching 4th grade than I was teaching high school. And whenever I had to substitute teach in 1st or 2nd grade, that was exhausting because they need constant directions, constantly be directed. And so we need the brightest and best in our early childhood education programs, in my opinion.
I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true. I also think we need to focus on parents.
Yes.
Because if you can get parents to participate in and be supportive of their child's education, that kid has a much better chance of making it. But many parents didn't have good school experiences themselves.
Right.
They don't exactly want to show up in school again. It wasn't a place where they met with success. So I think we have to rethink how we engage parents of young kids.
Exactly.
And I actually think we ought to start way back when, even before kids are born.
Yes.
And I think physicians can help with that, actually, and clinics and other places where pregnant women and their significant others show up.
Yes, so when we get back, Karen, we're going to talk about your book. I could see your passion, but it's about your book, the second segment. I just anytime get somebody as knowledgeable in education that seems definitely to agree that early childhood education, my one show, the Total Education Hour, that's on Fridays, local, more just education talk, and is nationally syndicated. We really go into the grassroots movements, and I always mention early childhood education. I think birth to 3 education, another huge part that only the kids that are struggling the most get those services. Then at 3, we start throwing all these opportunities. Well, 2, 1, parents need educated when they're the youngest to do the right thing. So you're watching the Neil Haley Show and listening to the Total Spotlight Show. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Visit the Oliver Miller Homestead, an 18th century reenactment site located just off the Circle on Corrigan Drive in South Park. Self-guided tours are available each Sunday from May 1st until December 8th from 1:30 until 4:30 p.m. with guides in 18th century garb located around the grounds to answer questions and to give information. Your tour will begin in a reproduction bank barn where displays give information on the movement west. You will also see the Miller still and learn about the production of whiskey and the importance of it and of the Whiskey Rebellion to this area. Follow the Miller Trail up the path and visit the transportation shed, demonstration shed, forge, a reproduction log house, the original spring house, gardens, and finally end at the stone house. Each month, the guides host at least one special event. The homestead is also a great place for tours, tailored to the needs of school-aged children, scout groups, or adults. Visit our website at www.olivermillerhomestead.org for a schedule for the year and much more information on the history of the Miller family, our organization, and pricing information.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show. Go to my website, totaltutor.net. This is all about education. It'll definitely be one of my education podcasts. And also to neilhaley.com or Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. I'm with Karen Gross, educator, former college president, professor, author. Now it's time to be all about Karen. Educators aren't used to that, right? Now it's all about you because we have to talk about your book. That's the hardest thing. I represent lots of them in social media and branding, and they say, I can't promote myself. I'm just used to promoting everybody else, right, Karen?
I think that's very true. But I have to say that promoting this book has been remarkably rewarding for me because of the story that it tells and the power of that story for me personally.
So let's kind of get to that story for sure, Karen. Tell us about it, specifically why you wrote the book.
So I've written a book, a children's book that can be read to children, read with children, read by children, that has as its heroine a feisty young girl who wants to be a knight in the Middle Ages.
Oh, okay.
And she's told, no, you can't do that. You can't be a knight.
Oh.
And she says, yes, I can. I can pass the test of knighthood.
Okay.
And so the story is about how she overcomes the hurdles in her pathway.
Okay.
And becomes a knight.
Interesting. So why that? Why that specific? So it's what time of year, if you're saying she's trying to become a knight, what the storybook is in what year? Like what time period, if she wanted to become a knight?
It's in the Middle Ages.
Middle Ages, okay.
But it's a story that's been illustrated by 2 high school students, 2 young girls. And if you've seen the illustrations, they're absolutely stunning. And so it was an opportunity for me to work with young people.
That's great.
To produce a book that appeals to young people and to older people, and to tell a story in a way that I hope is deeply captivating.
And so you're overcoming obstacles is one of your major goals as an educator. Overcoming the obstacles and the stories of kids you've taught and you've seen in your college that have gone on, graduated, and have great careers. So you want young girls and everyone that picks up this children's book to say that don't listen to the naysayers. We can do it, right, Karen?
Yes, I think that's right. And I think there are 2 other pieces to it. Mm-hmm. One is that I think we all need to be reminded that the power of the possible
Yes.
exists, that you really can achieve dreams.
Yes.
And the second is that the book is called Lady Lucy's Quest because I think within us all is a quest. I think most people, if you ask them deep down, is there something you want to do or something you want to be or something you want to pursue? Mm-hmm. There's a quest in us all.
There is.
So this book speaks to that.
There's definitely a quest in us all, Karen. And that quest is just amazing, that we can be something. We can be somebody. And when we find that purpose and drive, when I looked at each and every student, and I do high school coaching. I coach kids' life/education coaching, leading them up to college, and work with them. And I also work with college students in that kind of realm that have special needs. They just have to figure out what makes them special. And once they figure out what they can do, they can accomplish all odds because that's their passion. That's what they're great at. And to say, you become better at that. Don't focus on their weaknesses. We can help fix their weaknesses or improve them. But kids need to know that they're special in some way, and then they can do it, and to just focus on that, right? And that's probably where they hear all the naysaying when they're little kids, especially in areas where parents aren't really doing the best to build them up, right?
I think they hear it from a number of people that they can't make it, that they should rethink what they're doing.
Exactly.
They don't get the support at home.
Yeah.
But, you know, one really interesting thing in what you said, Neil, that's really important, I think, is that the ability to believe in yourself.
Yes.
And the ability to have a sense of control over your destiny.
Absolutely.
Is really important.
It's so important.
And so one of the goals of this book is to build that in kids so that they can carry that with them as they move forward.
How much is the reason when we talk about, and I know there's a underlying theme in your book, especially for your whole mission, your entire life, Karen, of when you talk about the disadvantaged kids in any way that cannot overcome their odds and the ones that you want to overcome them, that it's a mindset. If they believe they can't do it, they won't. And if they believe they can, they can. And so if the character in your book decided, I want to be this, but I know I can't, they give up. So you believe it's more in their mind that if they can believe they can achieve, they will.
I think it's both what's in the mind of the kid.
Yes.
But I also think they need to be, at least in the school context and the family context, ideally in a place that also believes in them.
Yeah, you got to have the,
Even in a perfect world,
right?
You don't just believe in yourself. You live in an environment where other people believe in you too and encourage you and support you and create opportunity for you.
That's the part that you look at. Let's see the kids that just fall through the cracks. They have no one building them up in school, at home. And building up, I don't mean giving them everything they want, Karen. It's saying they believe in them. They believe they can achieve. And I'm so glad to talk to an educator like yourself that believes achievement's an important thing. A lot of our educators these days don't see achievement as the highest possible goal because look at our education, Karen. If we're highly educated, we're going to have more success in life. We talk about the income inequality in our society. Education's inequality is one of the worst, right? How many kids can't read on a 4th grade level graduating from high school? So what you're trying, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so that's the thing that makes me passionate about what you're trying to do with this children's book is that you want parents to know, educators to know, anyone that's in their lives that we can't be breaking them down, we have to build them up, that they can achieve, they can have success. It's not saying, good job, sweetie. It's telling them, I believe in you. I know you can do great things. And you need to be told, tell yourself you can do great things. You need both of those areas, right?
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly what this book is about.
Awesome. I knew when I saw educator, I love listening to educators, and this is what makes me an educator in life for everyone on my radio show, my television show, when I coach people in business, when I coach people on social media, they can achieve. The one thing, I was at the National Publicity Summit last week, Karen, and the one thing I saw out of everyone that was pitching me to come on my radio show and television show, if they didn't believe in what they were pitching me, they weren't going to have success. Belief is the first step in success in life. If we can't believe we can succeed, we're not going to. But then we need other people around us to be those people. So that's the thing of the night. So the best place we can learn more about you, Karen, find your children's book and all that. Where can we go?
If you want to purchase the book, you can purchase it at all the usual outlets like Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Online, you can go to your local bookstore and they can order it for you, or you can go directly to the publisher. And there will be a coloring and activities book that's coming out in conjunction with it to reinforce its message. But I hope that kids and families that buy it can together appreciate the power of the possible.
I'm going to appreciate that power of the possible. I look at that with everyone. I have 5 kids of my own, Karen, and I look at every one of them. And I believe I want them to find their passion and purpose, and I want them to go to try to achieve to the highest level in whatever they do. And as long as it's not breaking the law and it's doing something great for society, go for it. Doesn't matter what they're going to get paid. It's about what they can do can transform our society. And if we break them down and build them down and say you can't achieve anything, they won't. So parents listening, everyone that's in a child's life, please do not tear them down. Build them up for success. I appreciate you calling, Karen. Any places we can follow you? Do you have like any social media or stuff that we can learn more about you?
I am all over social media. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Medium. And there is a Lady Lucy website at www.ladylucy'squest.com.
Awesome.
That will be live in about a week and a half.
So by the time our television interview airs, again, it's airing on radio right now live. We'll get it out to syndication next week. We'll be, and I'm going to definitely connect with you on LinkedIn, and we need to continue this dialogue, and you're welcome to come back anytime to talk education with me. I can't wait to research you more and say, what would be a perfect topic for my Total Education Hour show as well. So I hope we continue to be friends, and thanks for coming on.
Neil, I'd welcome that. So hopefully this is the beginning of a much longer conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling, and take care, Karen.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right, that was the Neil Haley Show. Take care, guys, and we'll see you next week.